For years had passed since Rose had sold a cat protected by supernatural entities. As a kind of punishment, she became a conduit for this being to connect with the living, having sold the cat to a known sorcerer who used them in sacrifices. Rose is tormented by this spirit that used the animal as a link between the living, allowing it to feel some of what living beings feel: joy, the wind against the body, among other things. Rose no longer had the strength to fight against it. The entity spoke to her only once when it asked why she had taken away the animal that made it feel alive. From then on, it never spoke again, just staying beside her, observing. Absolutely everything she felt, whether joy, sadness, hunger, or thirst, was shared with the entity that remained nearby, observing. Over time, bedridden and relying on medications, the only thing she shared with the being was her sadness. She felt like she was wasting away. But one afternoon, the nurse came to tell Rose that someone wanted to see her. Rose was surprised, as she rarely received visitors, so with a weak voice, she asked the person to come in. She was startled when she saw an old lady entering the room. It was the old lady who had asked her about the kitten that had disappeared at the time, the same kitten she had hidden and sold to the sorcerer. Rose began to cry, pleading with the old lady to help her. The old lady sat beside Rose and, with a sad voice, asked, "It was you, wasn't it? Did you do something to the cat?" "Yes, I didn't know this would happen. Please help me. Keep this demon away from me," Rose pleaded desperately. "But why? I had told you that the animal was protected by beings you wouldn't understand. Why didn't you respect my request? Do you know them? Can you help me get rid of him? What are these demons?" "They are not demons, they are perhaps some of the oldest spirits ever created. It's a little-known legend because they used animals as a link to the living. In ancient Mesopotamia, in a city called Nephilimra, it was the oldest location found about these creatures. These entities were known as Katashimra, derived from the word Katashu, which can be associated with sacred or spiritual, with Mara referring to the city. The legend says that the Katashimra inhabited the earth long before humans were created. They were like caretakers and had the power to align with animals and plants, a kind of possession, but different. The animals were free to do as they pleased, and the Katashimras used them to feel everything they felt, that is, life. But God told all beings that he would create a being in his image and likeness, but with a physical body that would dominate the entire earth. He strictly prohibited the Katashimra from using humans as a link to the world of the living, and the beings promised to obey the order. However, there was a problem. Not all animals had the power to align with the Katashimra, and just as they were considered sacred creatures, they considered the animals sacred because they were their link to our world. Hundreds, thousands of years passed, humanity spread across the earth, but something was wrong. Humans didn't seem like sacred beings. They were cruel, selfish, manipulative, causing the Katashimra to avoid them, not out of fear, but because they didn't like their presence. But one thing, in particular, troubled the beings. Humans needed to eat, dress, and hunt animals for that. Many of the animals hunted were sacred to the Katashimra. Each animal killed was a connection they lost, leading to conflicts even among the Katashimra who wanted to take each other's animals. But one day, something happened, whether it was a flaw in creation or intentional. A desperate Katashimra, losing its connection, saw something strange in a hunter, as if he were receptive to it. It advanced towards the man and managed to align with him. The Katashimra could feel everything the man was feeling, but it was different from animals. It was complex. When the man could see the entity because of the alignment, unlike animals, he panicked, started screaming in desperation, and the Katashimra felt it all. It didn't take long for other beings to learn that they could use human bodies, even with God's prohibition. They did so, but humans were extremely complex, bringing not only the feeling of being alive but also the ability to feel all the egoism, malice, pain, resentment, and sadness that humans felt, suffering from it too. The legend spread to other peoples who thought the Katashimra were demons. Documents were found in Aramaic that gave them another name, depending on the region. In some places, they were called Ruaxima, Ruach meaning spirit and Sima meaning to feel, but always associated with demons. But at the same time, although they were aligned with humans and absorbed all the energy of life, they also absorbed the bad parts, diseases, pains, or any other illness. However, they were so connected to humans that even after death, they remained united with the spirit, forming a single being, shapeless, emotionless, as if trapped in their own suffering. It was like a second death for both man and the sensation of one for the Katashimra. Rose listened to all this in horror and asked how the old lady knew all this. The old lady said she also had the patterns for them to align with her. Not only her but all the other old ladies on that street, who, not coincidentally, lived close to each other. But that cat was both the link with the entity and their protection. When she saw that the little animal had disappeared, and they didn't see the entity, she realized that someone else would fit the pattern. It took 3 years to find you, Rose, and I found you. Desperate, Rose pleaded for the old lady's help. The old lady said she would try and that she saw the Katashimra in the corner of the room. She said both Rose and the entity looked horrible, one destroying the other, when they both heard a voice. "Help me." It was the Katashimra, seemingly without strength. Its already deformed body seemed to be somehow dying, and this would also affect Rose. So the old lady discreetly took a small box from her pocket, saying she had found a little mouse with the patterns for alignment. She closed the door to the room and approached the Katashimra with the box containing the mouse. "Tell me, does it have the patterns? I felt a different energy in him, but only you can confirm." With great difficulty, the Katashimra touched the mouse, and Rose could feel as if something was leaving her body. She couldn't explain it, it seemed like a mass was leaving and pulling her skin. When this sensation passed, she opened her eyes and only saw the old lady with the box containing the mouse. She said she would release the animal in a safe place to avoid any problems. The old lady then left the room, never to return. Rose still looked around for the entity, but it was gone. She gradually improved, even to the surprise of the doctors, but the recovery would still take 4 months. Fully recovered, Rose left the hospital, but those memories and the story that old lady had told her didn't leave her mind. Whenever she saw an animal behaving strangely, and especially someone with symptoms of psychosis claiming to see demons, she felt a chill, looking around for something terrifying that she knew all too well.